That hand soap next to your kitchen sink right now, the one you've been pumping every time you come in from the grocery store, after handling raw chicken, before you hand your grandkids a snack, is not what it used to be. I spent 6 weeks tracking exactly when these brands changed their formulas, who bought them, what chemical replaced the last one, and what the FDA actually says about that replacement. 5 of them are not going to like this video. Before we get into the brands, you need 2 minutes of context, because this entire category is built on a claim that the FDA itself says is not supported by evidence. The word antibacterial on a hand soap label sounds like it means something. It sounds like science. It sounds like protection. What it actually means, legally, technically, according to the agency that regulates these products, is almost nothing. In September 2016, the FDA issued a ruling that banned 19 chemical ingredients commonly used in antibacterial hand soaps. The 2 biggest names were triclosan and triclocarbon, the agency's exact words. There is no data demonstrating that over-the-counter antibacterial soaps are better at preventing illness than washing with plain soap and water. Read that again. The FDA, not a health blogger, not a podcast host. The actual Food and Drug Administration said the antibacterial claim is not supported by evidence. So the companies had a year to reformulate. What did most of them do? They swapped triclosan for a different chemical class called quaternary ammonium compounds, quats, specifically benzalkonium chloride and benzethonium chloride. Here is where it gets important. The FDA also flagged benzalkonium chloride, benzethonium chloride, and chloroxylenol for further review. Their position: no data demonstrates any additional benefit from the use of these active ingredients compared to non-antibacterial soap and water. That review has been extended multiple times, largely due to industry pressure. As of 2026, the FDA still has not cleared these ingredients. They are not banned, but they are not confirmed safe either. Researchers at the Green Science Policy Institute, co-signing a letter with more than 40 environmental and health organizations, have linked quats to reproductive harm, respiratory issues, skin sensitization, and most urgently, antimicrobial resistance. That last one matters because antimicrobial resistance is a global health crisis in the making. When you wash your hands daily with a quat-based soap, you may be contributing to bacteria, learning how to defeat chemicals that hospitals depend on. Your family deserves to know this. Now let's talk about who is selling it to you. Brand number 1, Dial, the great American sellout. Most of you grew up with Dial. It was in your parents' bathroom. Gold bar, red label, that clean copper smell. That soap was American in a way that's hard to articulate. Practical, no nonsense, built on a real promise. Dial soap was created in 1948 by Armour & Company, the Chicago meatpacking firm, working with Lever Brothers. The original formulation used hexachlorophene, an antimicrobial agent that genuinely worked against odor-causing bacteria. The brand grew through the 1950s and 60s on the back of that promise. Dial was sold and separated across decades, but it stayed American. Then in December 2003, Dial Corporation was acquired by Henkel AG for $2.9 billion in cash. Henkel is a German chemical and adhesives company. Their business includes industrial adhesives, laundry detergent, and surface sealants. They make Loctite glue. They make Persil laundry detergent. Henkel did not acquire Dial because they cared about American cleanliness. They acquired it because Dial had shelf space in 180 million American homes. After the FDA's 2016 triclosan ban, Dial had a choice. They could reformulate with a simple surfactant-based soap. No active ingredient, just honest cleaning chemistry. Instead, Dial replaced triclosan with benzalkonium chloride in their bar soaps and benzethonium chloride in their liquid antibacterial lines, and kept the word antibacterial on every label. The active ingredient in a current Dial antibacterial bar soap is benzalkonium chloride at 0.10%. In plain language, they swapped a banned chemical for one that is under FDA review with no confirmed safety profile, kept the packaging virtually identical, kept the price point, and kept antibacterial printed in large font on the front of the box. Here's the test that proves it. Pick up a Dial bar from your bathroom right now, turn it over. If it says active ingredient benzalkonium chloride, you are using a product with a chemical the FDA has not confirmed safe or effective for consumer use. Consumers who have been buying Dial for 60 years are not buying the same soap. They are buying the brand memory. A German adhesives company is banking on that memory to override the ingredient label. Brand number 2, Softsoap, the brilliant inventor who left the building. There is a genuinely great American business story attached to Softsoap, and that's exactly why what happened to it stings as much as it does. In 1980, an entrepreneur named Robert R. Taylor, running a company called the Minnetonka Corporation out of Chaska, Minnesota, figured out that Americans would buy liquid pump soap if someone would just make it widely available. What Taylor did next is one of the most clever competitive moves in American consumer goods history. He purchased approximately 100 million hand pump plastic dispensers, essentially an entire year's production capacity from the only two domestic manufacturers. So no competitor could launch a competing product. Within 6 months of launch, he had sold $25 million worth of product. Taylor was a scrappy Midwestern entrepreneur who understood that a good product still needs a protected market. That's admirable. That's American business working the way it's supposed to. In 1987, he sold the brand to Colgate-Palmolive. Colgate-Palmolive is a global consumer goods company. Their primary product category is toothpaste. They also make Ajax bleach powder and dish soap. Colgate-Palmolive did not acquire Softsoap because they loved Robert Taylor's story or cared about what went in the bottle. They acquired Softsoap because it had the leading market position in liquid hand soap, and they wanted to own that shelf space. The current Softsoap antibacterial formulation lists benzalkonium chloride as its active ingredient at 0.13%. Same compound, same FDA-deferred review status, same absent safety confirmation, except at a slightly higher concentration than Dial. And Colgate-Palmolive markets some soft soap lines as suitable for sensitive skin, while benzalkonium chloride sits at the top of the ingredient label as the primary active chemical. 40-plus years of skin sensitivity research has identified benzalkonium chloride as a contact sensitizer, meaning repeated daily exposure can trigger skin reactions over time that build in intensity. Robert Taylor created something clever and genuinely useful in 1980. What sits on store shelves today, in the same looking bottle, carrying the same name, is a Colgate product with a disputed chemical compound as its centerpiece. They are not the same thing. Brand number 3, Purell. The $2.25 billion handoff Purell story is long, and the ending is recent enough that most people have no idea it happened. Purell was invented by Gojo Industries, a company founded in 1946 in Akron, Ohio, by a couple named Goldie and Jerry Lippman. Goldie Lippman was a factory worker's wife who noticed that workers at the tire plant were cleaning their hands with kerosene, something toxic, something that burned. She and her husband developed a gentler industrial hand cleaner, and from that one act of practical problem solving, Gojo became a real American industrial hygiene company built on a real human observation. The Purell sanitizer itself was introduced to the consumer market in 1997. For most of its existence, Purell was clean: 70% ethyl alcohol, glycerin, and water. No disputed quat compounds. No deferred review active chemicals. Alcohol at the right concentration kills viruses and bacteria through cell membrane disruption. That is not a marketing claim. That is biochemistry. And it has been confirmed by decades of independent research. Then in 2004, Gojo sold distribution rights to Pfizer. In 2006, Johnson & Johnson bought Pfizer's consumer division and took Purell with it. In 2010, Gojo bought it back from J&J. The brand spent 6 years bouncing between a pharmaceutical giant and a consumer goods conglomerate before returning to its founders. That should have been the end of the story. It was not. On January 22, 2026, the Clorox company announced it would acquire Gojo Industries, and with it, Purell, for $2.25 billion in cash. Clorox makes bleach. Clorox makes Pine Sol floor cleaner. Clorox makes Liquid Plumber drain opener. Clorox is financing this acquisition through debt, $2.25 billion borrowed, because the company behind household bleach decided it needed to own the most trusted name in hand hygiene. Bleach companies do not spend $2.25 billion on a sanitizer brand because they believe in its mission. They spend that money because the brand carries 70% institutional market share and became synonymous with hygiene safety during a global pandemic. That is what they purchased. Trust. Built over decades by a woman in Akron who was trying to protect tire plant workers from chemical burns. As of June 2026, that deal is expected to close within Clorox's fiscal year. The formula has not changed yet. I want to be precise about that. Purell's active ingredient is still ethyl alcohol at 70%, which is effective. But when Clorox needs to hit a quarterly earnings number, who is minding Goldie Lippman's recipe? That question does not have a good answer right now, and you should know it before it becomes a different question entirely. Watch this one closely. Brand number 4, Germ-X, the minimum viable loophole. Germ-X does not have a heroic founding story. It was developed by Vijon, a private label personal care manufacturer based in St. Louis, Missouri, founded in 1920 primarily as an industrial supplier. Germ-X was their entry into the consumer hand sanitizer market, a category they entered because the product was cheap to make and the antibacterial label moved units off shelves. Germ-X Original contains 62% ethyl alcohol, which sits just above the CDC's minimum recommended threshold of 60% for hand sanitizers. Just above the minimum, not 70% like Purell, not the 75% used in hospital-grade products. Exactly enough to technically qualify, marketed as though it performs the same as products formulated at higher concentrations. Here is what that means in practice. The CDC's guidance specifies 60% as a floor, not a target. Research on alcohol concentration and viral inactivation shows meaningful performance differences between 62% and 70%, particularly against non-enveloped viruses. When you're handing this to your child before lunch, you are not getting the protection the label implies. You are getting the product that meets minimum legal requirements and nothing more. Vijon also relies heavily on retailer private label contracts. They manufacture store-brand sanitizers for major chains. The formula in a generic store-brand sanitizer and the formula in a Germ-X bottle may come from the same production line. What changes is the label and the price you pay for the name on it. Beyond concentration, Germ-X product variants list fragrance as an ingredient. Under FDA regulations, fragrance formulas are protected as trade secrets, meaning a manufacturer can include dozens of undisclosed chemical compounds under that single word on a label. You are trusting a word that legally conceals what it contains. That is not an oversight in labeling law. That is a feature of it, and Germ-X uses it. Brand number 5, Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day, the Greenwash acquisition. This one is personal for a lot of people, and I understand why. Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day was founded in 2001 by Monica Nassif in Minneapolis, Minnesota, named after her mother, Thelma Meyer, a woman who raised 9 children and ran her house with simple plant-derived cleaning products. The brand was built entirely on that story. The scents basil, lemon verbena, geranium came from essential oils. The packaging was honest. The story behind the name was real. That story attracted a specific kind of American consumer, the 45 to 65 buyer who had started reading ingredient labels, who wanted something that felt honest, who was willing to pay a small premium for a product that matched their values. Monica Nassif built a real brand for real people. In 2008, S.C. Johnson acquired Caldria Company, which had absorbed Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day for an undisclosed sum. S.C. Johnson is the company behind Windex, Raid insecticide, Pledge furniture polish, and Ziploc bags. They manufacture chemical pesticides and synthetic surface cleaners at industrial scale. S.C. Johnson did not acquire Mrs. Meyer's because they respected Monica Nassif's mother or her philosophy. They acquired it because the margins on natural personal care products sold to label-conscious consumers are significantly higher than the margins on Raid. Here is what changed in the hand soap formulation specifically. Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day hand soap currently lists synthetic fragrance as an ingredient, not essential oils listed by botanical name. Synthetic fragrance? The same trade secret umbrella term that can conceal up to hundreds of undisclosed chemical compounds under a single word. The brand that Monica Nassif built on the story of her mother's plant-derived honest ingredient home is now formulated inside the same company that makes Raid. The product still smells like geranium. The geranium is not what you think it is. They are not imagining it. The consumers who say something changed, something did. Now let me show you 5 brands worth your money. The hand soap and sanitizer industry is counting on your brand loyalty to override common sense. There are brands in this category that never compromised, never sold to a bleach company, and never hid behind a trade secret fragrance exemption. Here they are. Good brand number 1. Dr. Bronner's Pure Castile Liquid Soap. Dr. Bronner's was founded in 1948 by Emanuel Bronner, a third-generation master soap maker from a Jewish soap-making family in Laupheim, Germany. He emigrated to the United States, survived institutionalization, and built a soap company in Escondido, California, on the simplest formula possible: organic plant oils, water, and potassium hydroxide as a saponifier. Dr. Bronner's is still family-owned. David Bronner, Emanuel's grandson, runs the company today. In 2003, it became the largest personal care company certified under the USDA National Organic Program. It is fair trade certified. Its ingredients are sourced from verified regenerative organic farms. The company maintains a 5-to-1 pay cap between its highest and lowest compensated employees. The ingredient list for Dr. Bronner's Pure Castile Liquid Soap reads: water, organic coconut oil, potassium hydroxide, organic palm kernel oil, organic olive oil, organic hemp seed oil, organic jojoba oil, citric acid, tocopherol. 9 ingredients. Every one of them is exactly what it says it is. No benzalkonium chloride, no synthetic fragrance, no deferred review active chemicals. Just soap. Here's the test that proves it. Put a drop on your wrist, rub it in with water. It lathers immediately, rinses completely clean with no residue, and your skin doesn't feel stripped. That is what real saponified plant oil does. Compare that to a quat-based antibacterial soap, which frequently leaves a thin film on your hands after rinsing. That film is the benzalkonium chloride residue coating your skin. A 32-ounce bottle runs roughly $15 to $17 at most natural grocery stores. That works out to less than 54 cents per ounce. A family of 4 uses roughly 2 ounces per week from a kitchen pump. That is about $5.60 a month, less than a single lunch at McDonald's spread across 30 days. To know exactly what 9 things are touching your family's skin every day. Good brand number 2, Everyone Soap by EO Products. EO Products was founded in 1995 in San Rafael, California by Brad Black and Susan Griffin Black, who had backgrounds in aromatherapy and natural wellness. Everyone Soap is their mass market line, built to bring clean ingredients to a price point that any household budget can absorb without thinking twice. Everyone Soap carries EWG verified status, meaning it has been cleared by the Environmental Working Group. Every ingredient evaluated against the EWG Skin Deep database. No items of concern. It uses plant-derived surfactants, scents only from essential oils with no synthetic fragrance compounds, and no preservatives from categories flagged by health researchers. The company is still independent. No acquisition by SC Johnson. No German chemical company in the ownership chain. The people who wrote the formula still control what goes in it. A 32-ounce bottle typically runs $9 to $11, less than 35 cents per ounce. You are paying less per ounce than Softsoap antibacterial costs, and you are getting an EWG verified, independently owned product with no disputed active chemicals and no legal trade secret fragrance umbrella hiding anything. Good brand number 3, Touchland Hand Sanitizer. If you're using a hand sanitizer rather than soap and water when a sink isn't available, Touchland is the brand I want you to have in your pocket. Founded in 2018 by Andrea Lisbona in Miami, Florida, Touchland was built to make a sanitizer people would actually want to use consistently. Designed well enough to carry, effective enough to trust. The active ingredient is ethyl alcohol at 70% by volume, not 62%. Not the CDC minimum threshold, 70%, which is the concentration that has been studied and confirmed effective across the widest range of pathogens. The difference between 62 and 70% sounds like a rounding error when you read it on a label. When you're sanitizing before handling food or after touching a gas pump, it is not a rounding error. The inactive ingredients include aloe barbadensis leaf juice, glycereth 26, and botanical extracts for skin conditioning. No mystery fragrance umbrella. The scented versions disclose their scent sources specifically. You know what is in this product. A single Touchland Power Mist is approximately $10 and contains 500 sprays. That is 2 cents per use. Across a month of normal daily use, you are spending less than $3 to carry a correctly dosed, honestly formulated sanitizer instead of a minimum threshold product that technically qualifies and performs at the floor. Good brand number 4, 7th generation fragrance-free hand wash. 7th Generation was founded in 1988 in Burlington, Vermont, by Jeffrey Hollander, who named the company after an Iroquois principle: make decisions with 7 generations of future people in mind. The company was built from day one on the premise that cleaning products should be able to disclose every ingredient, including fragrance components, without hiding anything behind trade secret protections. 7th Generation has never used triclosan, benzalkonium chloride, or any other antibacterial active ingredient in their hand wash products. They made that choice publicly and on principle, not because the FDA forced their hand, but because they did not believe the evidence supported the claim and did not want to make it. That is a meaningful distinction. A note on ownership. 7th Generation was acquired by Unilever in 2016. Unilever is a large Anglo-Dutch consumer goods company, and that is worth mentioning with honesty. However, the 7th Generation team has continued operating with its original formulation philosophy, and the fragrance-free hand wash product line has maintained its clean ingredient profile post-acquisition. As of 2026, the formulation holds. I watch this one and will tell you if that changes. A 12-ounce bottle runs roughly $4.50 to $5.50, less than 45 cents per ounce, for a product with no disputed active chemicals, no synthetic fragrance, and no quat compounds. That is a price any household can fit into a weekly grocery run without a second thought. Good brand number 5, Dr. Bronner's Organic Hand Sanitizer. For situations where soap and water aren't available and you need a sanitizer specifically, Dr. Bronner's makes an organic hand sanitizer worth keeping on hand. The active ingredient is ethyl alcohol at 62%, which sits at the CDC's threshold. I want to be direct about that. 62% is not my preferred concentration, and I said so in the Germ-X segment. The difference between Germ-X at 62% and Dr. Bronner's at 62% is everything surrounding the alcohol. Dr. Bronner's sanitizer uses organic glycerin from their certified supply chain and does not use synthetic fragrance at all. The entire inactive ingredient list is 3 items: organic glycerin, water, and lavender oil. aisle. Now compare that to the inactive ingredient paragraph on any major brand's sanitizer label. Stretch that label out and count the words. The contrast is not subtle. If Touchland at 70% is available to you, get Touchland. If you're in a pharmacy reaching for something off the shelf and Touchland isn't there, the choice between Dr. Bronner's and every brand covered in the first half of this video is not a close call. We started with the pump bottle next to your sink, the one you've been using because antibacterial has meant protection for most of your life. Because that word, for 60 years, carried authority. What it means in 2026 is that a German adhesives company or a South American toothpaste corporation or a bleach manufacturer who just borrowed $2.25 billion to buy the brand decided to keep printing that word because you trust it. The FDA said it. The CDC confirmed it. 40 health organizations put their names on a letter about it. Plain soap and water, used for 20 seconds, cleans your hands just as well as any of the antibacterial products we covered today. And without the benzalkonium chloride that researchers have connected to reproductive harm, respiratory sensitization, and the acceleration of antimicrobial resistance. You are not being difficult. You are not being paranoid. You are reading the label. Your family deserves someone in the house who reads the label. If this video changed which bottle you reach for, subscribe and hit the notification bell, because the hand soap aisle is one of 20 categories where this exact story is playing out, and we are going to cover every single one. Next week, the sunscreen brands selling you benzophenone derivatives that the European Union has already restricted, and 3 mineral brands doing it right. That video may surprise you even more than this one did.